A map of the United States. States like Utah, Nevada, Idaho, Arizona, Wyoming glow softly. Imagine a group that makes up less than 2% of the US population, yet holds a senatorial presence, billion-dollar influence, and deep roots in federal institutions. A group whose history is marked by persecution, but whose modern identity is tied to business empires, political networks, and a cultural strategy that looks at first glance like coincidence. This is the world of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You know them as the Mormons. But what if their influence in American politics isn't loud, scandalous, or conspiratorial, but quiet, methodical, and strategic? Today, we're not asking, are they controlling America? That's not the point. We are asking, how did such a small group, born in the chaos of the 1800s, build a network that reaches Congress, intelligence agencies, and influential economic sectors? And what does that mean for the future of America? Let's follow the timeline, let's connect the dots, and let's challenge what we think we know. Mormon power plays, their quiet influence on us political landscapes, 1800s illustrations. Joseph Smith, migration routes. The story starts in the 1830s with Joseph Smith, a young religious founder claiming new scripture in the American Midwest. His followers grow fast, too fast. The backlash is brutal. They are expelled from Missouri under threat, hunted in Illinois, and finally, their founder is killed by a mob in 1844. Brigham Young portrait. Enter Brigham Young to survive. He makes a strategic decision. Isolation as a political strategy. If America won't accept them, they'll build their own world far from the federal government. Map showing journey to Utah. In 1847, the Mormon migration west begins. Thousands travel to a land not yet tightly controlled by the U.S. Utah Territory. And here's where the seeds of political influence are planted. Because when you build a community from the ground up, you build the systems too. Government, education, business, military, militias. Utah becomes a laboratory for governance. A protostate led by a church. Early Salt Lake City, church buildings, railroad expansion. The LDS Church understands something early on. Influence isn't about numbers, it's about structure. While other religious groups focus on congregations, the Mormons focus on education networks, social services, scouting programs, community loyalty, internal economics. The church becomes not just a faith, but an infrastructure. Harvard Business Review style graphics. Sociologists call this high institutional density. Translation: a Mormon child grows up in systems that reinforce identity, continuity, and community interdependence. And when those children grow up and enter politics, they don't enter alone, they enter with a network. State capital of Utah. Graphs showing population versus representation. Let's talk numbers responsibly. Mormons are roughly 2% of the US population, but in Utah they are around 60% today, and were higher historically. That matters, because Utah has 2 U.S. senators for House Representatives, influence on federal committees, a pipeline into national institutions, and unlike other states with strong religious majorities, Utah's majority is organized. A common internet claim says, the FBI recruits Mormons because they're obedient. That's an oversimplification, and we need precision. Reality: Utah's high rates of second-language speakers, due to missionary work, make candidates appealing to federal agencies. Cultural emphasis on discipline, clean records, and service-focused resumes aligns with intelligence vetting standards. This creates representation, not control. Influence does not require a conspiracy. Sometimes it's just alignment. Mitt Romney, boardrooms, presidential campaigns. Mitt Romney is often presented as the symbol of Mormon political achievement, a governor, a presidential nominee, later a senator. But the more interesting story isn't Romney himself. It's how his rise normalized Mormon identity in American politics. It creates a template, business-friendly, morally conservative in image, but pragmatically flexible, calm rhetoric, networked financing, Proposition 8, media headlines, internal disputes. Every network that grows quietly eventually reaches a moment of visibility. For Mormons in U.S. politics, one of those moments was California's Proposition 8 in 2008, dealing with same-sex marriage. The LDS Church publicly supported the measure financially, organizationally, and the backlash was immediate. Protests, document leaks, public pressure campaigns. For the first time in modern memory, the LDS Church confronted the cost of overt political action. After the backlash, a noticeable shift occurs. The Church becomes more selective in public political positioning, less direct statements, more emphasis on individual member involvement. In influence terms, this looks like a move from overt to covert signaling. Not secret, just quieter U.S. Senate floor, business conferences, Utah tech sector. Today, Mormon influence is less about commanding American politics, and more about shaping the edges, the places where policy, society, and culture overlap. Business sector influence. Utah is now a tech hub. Silicon Slopes, venture capital, software startups. The cultural infrastructure that once built frontier towns now builds accelerators and incubators. Political impact. Economic leverage is bargaining power. Missionaries abroad, global maps. Missionary work creates a soft power network. A Mormon missionary who lived in Brazil or Japan might one day be an ambassador, diplomat, or international negotiator. Language, cultural familiarity, social adaptability. These are political currencies. Brigham Young University and alumni statistics. BYU is one of the most influential institutions you've never fully considered. Its graduates feed into law, finance, medicine, intelligence, and government. Again, not control. Capacity. To really understand Mormon political influence, we need comparison. Catholics influenced labor and urban politics. Evangelicals influenced federal elections and cultural policy. Jewish Americans influenced law, academia, and civil rights movements. Mormons, their niche is institutional pipeline building. Utah repeatedly ranks in the top states for voter turnout, charitable giving, multilingual citizens. It has one of the most stable political cultures in the U.S. That stability translates to predictability, which businesses and political strategists love. In 2020, despite national chaos, Utah's government avoided many of the governance breakdowns seen elsewhere. Question to audience: is that coincidence, or the result of generations of systems thinking? Critics say the issue isn't that Mormons have influence. It's that the lines between church and state sometimes blur, but attempts to limit that blur often backfire. Examples: anti-polygamy legislation in the 1800s inadvertently strengthened Mormon group identity. Cultural criticism sometimes fuels siege mentality, strengthening loyalty networks. In trying to reduce influence, critics sometimes reinforce it. So where does all this leave us? We are not living in a Mormon-controlled America. We are living in a country where a small, highly organized group has built a resilient pathway to influence, and that's worth understanding, not fearing. 3 takeaways. 1. Influence is not always loud. Sometimes it is built through institutions, not elections. 2. Small groups can shape national politics if they master networks, not just numbers. 3. America's political landscape is a mosaic, and ignoring any piece, Mormon, Catholic, evangelical, secular, immigrant, means misunderstanding the whole. If we only look for power where it is loudest, we miss where it is most effective. The future of American politics may not be shaped by who has the biggest population, but by who has the strongest systems. If this video challenged what you thought you knew, if you want more deep dives into the hidden architecture of American influence, subscribe, hit the bell, and leave a comment. Which group, ideology, or network should we map next? Because the story of power isn't finished, and the next chapter might be happening quietly. Right now,